Okay, let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for being on time and being so enthusiastic about the initiative. Um, so I made up a little presentation. It's nothing boring, just 2 or 3 slides. Don't worry. Um, so first of all, as I said, thank you very much for your support and your will to push ahead with this initiative. Before we start, I want to do a little disclaimer about 2 points. The first one is, as already discussed with some of you, this session will be recorded and then I will post them on YouTube. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you have any confidentiality issues or whatever you want to talk about in the session, please don't mention anything that could be subject to any compliance rules or confidentiality rules. Second disclaimer, which is also very important, is in this session I will try to be as agnostic and as I can, but as everything in life, there is no absolute truth. So this is just my point of view. There is no thing that are this way or the other way. It just all depends on your preferences or whatever suits the need, the necessity at the moment. So be clear about that. I'm not pretending to preach anything. It's just my point of view, my opinion on things. So you feel free to disagree on whatever I can say. Okay. So I'll try to be quick on this one. So in terms of logistic, it's very easy. I think I'm going to try to make it as easy as it's possible. First, as we already using it, we'll try to use Google Meet for the live meetings. I chosen this Google Meet because first I know it quite well because I use it for work, and second because I'd like to be this session very dynamic and very interactive. So it's not about just me speaking. It's about sharing our opinions, our views, our doubts, your doubts, mine maybe, and trying to together to solve them and get some value out of these conversations. So we need a if you can do video chat, it's better. If you cannot, well, no problem. Second thing about logistic, as you maybe have seen in the Slack channel, there is a private one called Session 1. I'll give you access to this channel or sub channel. I don't know how to call it after the session, and this will be the place for you to discuss and share whatever you want to discuss about a specific session. So it's to separate whatever is about a session, if there's any kind of homework or stuff like that, from general discussion. It's more practical this way. I think when we start doing some code, I will post everything I can do here on GitHub, and then once we talk about a little bit of GitHub for those who are not very familiar with it, I explain to you how to branch it, and we see how we can all have our version of the code in the same repository and maybe merge it, etc. Maybe for some of you it's pretty obvious, and probably for some others it's very confused, but I get into that later. And as an IDE, as a code editor, I usually use VS Code. So if you are a rebel or you don't like VS Code, feel free to use anything else, obviously. But if you have not any preferences, I would strongly recommend to use VS Code. It's the standard right now in the market, without any doubt, for web development, and it's starting to be also a standard for other programming languages. So that's what I will use. And with I think there's nothing more about the logistic. Basically, I have pretty clear in mind what we are going to do today. I haven't thought about what we can do in the next session. we're going to look at it after this slide. There's no order. We can choose it together. I thought about an order, but it's nothing really concrete, so it's flexible on this point. So to break the ice, we're going to do a little round of presentations. So my name is Patrick. I'm French. I live in Spain for maybe half of my life now. I'm 45. That means I'm pretty older than all of you, which means I have more experience than all of you, maybe. I haven't studied anything related with anything IT. So I studied international commerce, so international trade and stuff like that, which I've never used in my life. I started to code when I was 8. It started to begin to be a passion at this age, which probably was not a good experience at the time because there was nothing more than assembly code. So very, very hard when you're 8. Then I still kept on doing stuff, etc. Normal life with, rounded up by PCs and machines and stuff like that, a little freaky. Then I moved to Spain and I started to work for a big Spanish bank. And I've been an investment banker for almost 25 to 30 years now. And in the last 15 years, I've mixed with my experience with financial markets, with my experience with IT, managing and developing and managing small and big projects for the banks I worked at. So could be very small project that I did myself in a few weeks, or multi-million dollars project for many branches of the bank around the world. So wide experience on both sides on doing and managing stuff. In kind of languages, that's my credentials. I know a lot of them, but I know mainly Delphi, C++, Java, C#, Python, everything web related, HTML, CSS, it's JavaScript, TypeScript, blah blah blah, and that's it, more or less. So, who want to be the first to present himself? Can't hear you, Thomas. I don't know if the other one can hear you, but I can't.
Let me change my mic.
Yeah, my fault. Sorry. I'm gonna put the.
You guys could hear me or no?
Yes.
Okay. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I like Patrick, I didn't study anything computer science. I actually did film animation in college, and then ended up doing some management consulting. And then after that, I sort of stumbled into IT when I was making a career change. I was doing QA for a while as a business analyst, and then I did project management. Eventually, I kind of stumbled into user experience, which is what I primarily do now. In the past few years, I decided that I wanted to actually be able to implement some of the things that things that I come up with, because I've always been tinkering with websites on the side. I did a lot of stuff with WordPress. And so I already knew HTML, CSS, and I decided to get more versed with JavaScript. This was around the time that React was really kind of starting to get bigger. So React was an easy way for me to get into the JavaScript side of things. So past couple of years, I was doing that on the side. I did a side project which I was helping a nonprofit build a full stack application. And then I started to have the need for the skills at work, which was actually pretty cool. So now my job is actually wearing both hats. I do user experience and I do some front-end development. I'm working to become more full stack, primarily in JavaScript in terms of the back-end stuff, so Node, and a little bit of, I've done a lot of stuff with Firebase and a lot of stuff with Express. And so right now I'm just trying to learn as many. I love web dev stuff. Like I just love making things and seeing it come alive. So this is a really cool opportunity to extend my knowledge and also share what I know.
Cool. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much, Thomas. Who's next? Who's next? Enrico. Enrico.
I can go next.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Michael or Harris. Hi guys, my name is Enrico. Originally from Italy. I live in San Francisco, so West Coast. And I can relate to your stories because I studied, structural engineering and architecture. It was actually a double master degree, and then I moved to the US. And in my work, I deal with technology. I always try to adopt and implement the latest technology and leverage it for design purposes. And that's how I started to, get familiar with coding. So I started with smaller plugins for Autodesk softwares, mainly using Python, and then just having fun with Visual Basic application in Excel, which is pretty old stuff, I guess. And then, because I wanted to develop my own projects and I had my own ideas, fun projects on the side, I started to look into JavaScript, and then I started to look into. I started with Azure, and then I transitioned into Firebase. But that's where I'm at right now, and so it's so I can say I'm a self-taught enthusiast. That's me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Enrico. Michael, you're next.
Hey, so yeah, I'm Michael. I live in London. Kind of similar backgrounds to some of you in some ways, I guess. I did a degree in audio production, and I ended up doing a master's in philosophy randomly as well. So I feel like coding kind of helps both of those outlets in some weird way. I miss like the creative side of audio production, and kind of the reasoning side of philosophy. I kind of get a bit of both of that sometimes with coding, I find, particularly front-end stuff. That's primarily what I'd say I'm interested in. I started learning HTML and CSS about 18 months ago, really, and then got into JavaScript shortly after, about a year ago now. And I've only really worked with Bootstrap, not really any proper frameworks. I kind of just want to test the waters with front-end to begin with, and then see if I can, hack doing back-end stuff. I'm not sure if I could cope with doing something and then not visually seeing it, but that's kind of my story anyway.
Okay. Sam, for example, can you tell us a little bit of yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Sam. I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm a front-end developer for a marketing agency. And I went to the boot camp, and that's how I got my web education. And since then, I've been working with mainly in the front end, and JavaScript, React, and Angular is my favorite. So that's me.
Cool. Harris, maybe you can tell us a bit yourself.
Yeah, okay, so my name is Harry, or Harris, whichever one works for you best. I'm 18, and I'm probably the youngest one here. That's my last year. I'm currently going through my last year of high school. I started coding around 2 years ago. I started with C++ and game development. I didn't like it that much, so I'm now going I'm getting into web development with Angular. And yeah, I've also messed around with statistics. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, so you went from C++ to web development. That's a major change.
Yeah.
Okay, Carpecia.
You guys hear me okay? All right, so my name is Kalpesh, and I started my career as a Java developer early in 2010, but then unfortunately my father was not doing okay, so I had to join him. So I totally switched my career from web developer to farmer. I joined his business. So for around 4 or 5 years, I was totally away from the technology. And when I came to United States, people were talking about Angular and React and some Vue and some fancy stuff, and I was totally unaware of all the stuff. So I joined a bootcamp. I learned React, Monstack in there, and immediately after that, I got a job as a full stack JavaScript developer. And ever since, I've been working with Angular and React. And I have a special interest in mobile app development as well as the DevOps. So, whenever I got some time, I learn Flutter apps or DevOps stuff and automate the deployment process. So that's what I've been doing.
Okay. Perfect. Dennis?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Sure. Awesome. Yeah, my name's Dennis. Like a lot of you, I don't actually have a formal background in computer science. I studied political economy at university, and since graduating, I've been working at a number of tech startups based in London as a commercial manager. And working at those companies has just made me kind of really realize what I actually want to do. I want to make a career change and kind of pursue an actual formal role within tech to become a developer. So I've been learning JavaScript over the past couple of months quite intently, and hoping to make a full career change by next year.
Cool, pretty ambitious.
Definitely.
Inspiring. Josh, last but not least.
You alright, guys? How's it going? So my name's Josh. I live in London. So currently I'm working at a tech startup. I'm in the marketing team. So a lot of the job is sort of product based in terms of sort of product marketing and sort of B2B marketing. But so during the lockdown, I kind of got into coding and started going on these sort of online courses. So like free Code Camp, Code Academy. I think they had like a discount on, so I was just going through all of them and started really enjoying coding. Really, I thought, this would be a good time to look to go into a career change. So I was coding then. Got to about JavaScript, and I started doing code wars, and that's when I really enjoyed doing JavaScript. Sort of code challenges kind of kept me occupied and sort of helped me learn more about JavaScript. And then sort of now currently sort of looking to move into a framework or library like React, and hopefully sometime next year, early in the next year, look to make a switch from sort of marketing to developer. That's me.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. So my idea is, I have big echo here. My idea is now that we've done the presentation, we know more or less that what I guessed, we all have very different profiles, very different experiences, and some people know some backend languages. Most of you don't have a lot of experience, but get some clues of what things are. So you're not a total stranger to coding, at least in JavaScript or web development. So that's cool. That's a very good base. Something I'd like to mention and to highlight. I guess that you're all here because you're aware that you lack some knowledge. So it's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to say I don't understand it, because it's not easy. It's hard. Most of senior developers, it took years to master some stuff, and it's even harder because it moves so fast. So you have to keep up with everything. It's very hard. So don't be ashamed to raise your hand, say I don't understand what you're saying, or I'm completely lost, or whatever. Okay, so this is as a starting point. So I've made. So the next slide I wanted to show you. I guess you can see that. You can see it. Okay. So I just threw some concept out of my mind on the paper, and this is the kind of stuff that we are going to talk about in the next sessions. Project architecture is more about, if you have an idea about a project or whatever product you want to develop, is what kind of solution you have to choose to put this in place, because you cannot apply the same solution to all the problems. So we all know that. So that a little bit of knowing what does what and which is probably the best solution for what kind of problem, etc. I guess all of us now here know Firestore, or a little bit, know about it. So there's a huge difference between structuring data in a traditional way, in a relational database SQL world, and Firestore. So at the beginning, usually everyone does a lot of mistakes and structure the data incorrectly, and then you have some trouble in managing your app. So I think a session about data structuring in Firestore is quite important and could be interesting. Development environment, this is not a full session. There's some tricks to help you be more effective, more productive with the tools that you use. I could share my experience, and probably many of you can do so. I'm specialized in Angular, so I have no professional experience in React. So I've played with it. I've done some tutorials and do some stuff, and at the end, all these languages, they all share a lot of specificity, so it's not that hard, but I'm not specialist. So probably we do in the future a session with React, and I have already some people that are willing to share their knowledge on React. So cool about that. In terms of Angular, well, I've put the usual suspects here in the slide. We will see which one we take first and second, etc. Then Thomas also offered himself to help us on UX and UI. Obviously, this is in a developer world. So here we are not in a developer world because you don't have a big developer experience. So you all come from different aspects of professional life. So there's no narrow focus on coding. So usually UX is not an issue for you, but for most developers, UX is crap. It's the last thing they think about. First coding. People that work with developer, they know that. They don't care if it's pretty or not pretty. If it works, it's okay. Then someone will fix the rest. And it's not supposed to be like that. So PWA, progressive web apps, I think we have to talk about. Git, probably one of the first things we're going to see. Security, I have already talked to Bartos, which is good knowledge from an acquaintance, and he will be delighted to do a session about security. He's a specialized. He has a company that does that, and many more stuff. So to get into our hands dirty, I just put some very common concepts here on the screen, just to make sure we are all aware of what they are. So raise your hand if you don't know. There's no shame in it. So dry. Does anybody don't know what is dry? Okay, two people, three people. Okay. Dry is don't repeat yourself. Let the machine do the work. So it means if you do some code and then you have to repeat this code in another place, don't do that. Create an object, a function, or whatever, and use that everywhere. It sounds stupid, but it's not. Don't use copy paste, because First, if you made a mistake, if there's a bug, you don't have a bug in one place. You have a bug in many places in your app, and there's no way you're going to find them all. So there's no way if you have then, I don't know, 50,000 lines of code, which is very easy to reach. It's impossible to remember where you have pasted and copied and repeated stuff. So if you need to have a feature, just write it once and use it everywhere. Dry. Don't repeat yourself. I'm not going to go in the same order. Very let's say general concept. Library versus framework. And we are going into the world Angular versus React. There's no correct answer. Okay, both are exceptionally good tools
to do websites or web applications.
I would say from my experience,
well, first, Angular is a framework. React is a library. Because with Angular, you can do everything you need inside a web application. With React, you can do part of it, but you need other libraries to complement other aspects of your application. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a decision you have to make at the beginning, depending on your skills, depending on your company, whatever. But there's no good or bad choice. Okay. TDD, FDD, BDD. I guess this might be a little tricky for you. Maybe you know what it is.
Raise your hand
if you don't know.
I didn't
know very
short time ago.
So TDD. Who can tell me what TDD is?
Test-driven development.
Yeah. Test-driven development. Okay. FDD. FDD is feature-driven development. BDD, which is the latest. The US guy, they know that.
Yeah. Business-driven development.
Or business or behavior.
Behavior, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, it's a fancy way to call how you're gonna work with your teams. Okay. You can work it alone. But it doesn't make so much. It's not that important if you work alone than if you work with a team. And actually, TDD is separated from FDD, BDD. So test-driven development means. Do you all know what is unit tests?
You don't know.
Okay. So very briefly, when you code. You do the actual code that do things in your program, but you want to code some tests that check the code that do something to make sure it's okay in all circumstances. For example, the typical example is you have a function that divide a number by another one. That's it. So there's one case, we all studied a little bit of math. There's one case when you cannot do that. You cannot divide by zero. Okay, so your function, if you pass it, if the second argument you pass it is a zero, it's going to fail because it's going to divide the first argument by the second argument. So it's going to fail. Okay, so to avoid this kind of situation, you make tests. And on those tests, you try to test all the different possibilities. So you pass positive numbers, negative numbers, big, small, and zeros. And at some point, it's going to fail. So you have to adapt your code for the test not to fail. And once the tests are done, you can change your code and still run the test, and the tests still have to be okay. Okay, so it's a way to ensure that when you go forward with your development, your code still is robust. Okay, so in the past, people usually we all do that. You code, you do stuff, you're happy with it, so the screen is changing, and you see movement, and you see data. Changing, and it's cool, and then say, okay, let's do some tests. And it's tedious, and it's not very funny, and it's boring. Okay, so test-driven development change the paradigm, and what you do is you think about what your function or process has to accomplish, and you write the tests first. And once you have the test written, then you do the function, because you have thought about all the different possibilities that are possible to happen in the function. So this is test-driven development. First you do the test, and then you do the actual process. Okay. Feature and business behavior development, it doesn't have anything to do with test. So that's why I say it's a little bit different. You can do TDD and FDD at the same time. FDD is you think about a feature in your application. So let's say login is a feature. So you need the part of the application will be a logging part where the user will capture their info, and the system has to validate that this info is acceptable or not. Okay, so this is a feature. And then behavioral or behavior
driven development. It's more about what the user is going to do. So trying to follow the workflow of the user inside the app and try to organize your work around this workflow. Okay, so I never used it. It's very hard to work with that, in my opinion, because it's very difficult to differentiate what is a feature from a behavior. So it's hard. So usually people, even if they don't know it, they use feature-driven development. They think, okay, I'm going to do the login page, and then I'm going to do the home page, and then I'm going to do, I don't know, the administration or the tools or the setting page, or etc. etc. So there are different features which are like independent from the other. They can work by themselves. Okay, so this is features. SPA. I guess. This is if you work with React and Angular, you know what SPA is. So who is a stranger to SPA? Okay. SPA is single page application. Okay. I'm going to explain that after Web Dev Program. So to be very brief, because we could talk about that for hours. The huge difference between a desktop application and a web application is that traditionally all the hard work, the heavy lifting was done on the server, somewhere else, not on your machine. Okay. So usually, or traditionally, some years ago, maybe now a decade ago, the client, which means the part of the program that runs in your browser, were very small. It was very small, and it had almost no logic in it. It was just there to display stuff that it was getting from outside. All the heavy lifting was done on servers. Okay, so basically that's what motivated the full stack developer stuff, the big image of full stack developer, because you needed huge skills to do server stuff, and other people were working on the front end, and the front end were basically HTML and CSS. It was more UI than logic. There were almost no logic in it. This is traditional web development, and this is okay until we have wide bandwidth, and we can work with huge amount of data and very quick transactions between server and clients. So little by little, the industry abandoned this paradigm and started to focus more on single page application. And single page application is you don't delegate the work to the server. The server is basically holding security and holding the data, and all the big work is done in the client. Okay, so we have moved from working from the server to the client. And why? Well, because the processor we have in our mobile phone or computer is so powerful now, and the memory and the bandwidth, etc. We don't have there's not many limits to what we can do on a portable device or on the computer. So we don't need a big machine at Google or Amazon to work for us. So you can delegate. You can still keep all the logic inside your client, your front end. The only thing you cannot have in the front end is security, because it will be hackable. If everyone using your application is able to see the code, if you have your security there, then it's a big hole in your security measures. So single page application means that all these framework or library like React and Angular, etc., they just start with one page that you ask to the server. And the server give you the whole app. It doesn't give you page by page. It just give you the whole application, the whole code, and then everything is done inside the browser. Versus what was done before was just give me the first page, and when you clicked on the link, basically you were asking the server to give you the second page, and the server was rendering the second page and give it back to you. So that's the difference. So you SPA, you enter in the home page, and then the app running in your browser is routing you through the different corners of your application, but it's local in your device. Okay, that's important. And I left. Or is it clear? Or okay. I left for the last one the MVC. This is development stuff. So who doesn't know what MVC is? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thomas, you already know. Okay,
I know of it. I've not actually like used it as a paradigm, but I know of it. The model viewer controller. Yeah.
Okay, so this is it. It's model view controller. It's like everything in the tech world. It's a mouthful and it's all buzzwords. But at the end, it's very simple. They all are quite simple syntaxes and concepts. So MVC, model view controller, basically it means when you code, you don't mix the different functionalities of your app. You have one part that has a responsibility to display stuff, which is the view, and it doesn't do any logic. It's the dumb stuff. It's the dumb stuff. No brain, just pure beauty. Okay, UX and UI. You don't think. You just get things and display it the best way you can. That's the view. The controller is where you put all your logic. It's the thing. It's the brain. It's the brain of your whole application. You do that. And the model is basically how you structure your data. And with the model, you are able to link the controller with the view. Okay, this is maybe a little confusing, but let's imagine that your view, the view part of your application is expecting to get one number to display on the screen, and you give it an image, but it doesn't know what to do with it. So the model is saying that it's sort of a contract between the controller and the view to say, you view object 1, you're going to get this kind of parameters, and controller, you have to give this kind of parameters. So it's a way to agree. It's a contract between the two to make sure that communication between different components goes smoothly. Okay. Is that clear? Basically, you have to remember this is probably from the whole list I have on screen. This is the first two are the one that you have to keep in mind all the time. Don't repeat yourself, and don't forget to separate your concerns. If you are doing view, do view. If you're doing logic, do logic. But don't put logic into view stuff, and don't put views into logic stuff, because then it's so hard to debug, and then you end up with millions line files, which is impossible to understand, etc. Okay. Any other concept you have on the top of your mind that maybe you don't know what means, and maybe I can explain? God, Google Meet must have frozen because you're all in mobile.
I think we're all just thinking.
Okay, so next. So my idea. Talking with some of you on Jeff's channel, I realized that most of the time, when you have tutorials or stuff like that, people use very simple examples to illustrate what they are teaching, and it's good just for this issue in particular to make an example just for that. But you lack continuity, I think. So my idea was to think about one project or one idea or one product, call it either whatever you want, and trying to take it from its inception to its production. And I think it could be very interesting for all of us if we could manage to understand all the steps and all the hurdles that we are going to find in the way from just an idea to a concrete application that we can use. Because we're going to find, one project is like any other. If it's big, if it's small, it doesn't matter. You're going to face the same issues. More or less, 99% of the issues are the same. So even if you have something else in mind, doing one simple project together is going to help you understand what you have to do with your own. Okay. So my idea is try to share the same idea together and take it to as far as we can. Okay, maybe make some money with it. Who knows? Okay. So as I put it on the screen, first before I answer, this is Harris' ID. It's not mine. This is something that Harris wanted to develop, and he had some difficulty. So I talked with him, and he agreed to share his ID and make it available for all of us. So basically, as I've written there, with COVID now, probably it's the same in all the countries. There are a lot of venues or places like restaurants or gymnasium or swimming pools or theaters or whatever. They don't allow a lot of people at the same time inside, okay? Because we have to keep, distancing, etc. I'm not going to repeat all the news of all the countries. So in many places, they don't have any means to control that. They do it by hand or just count, or they don't know. So Harry was saying, why not develop an application very easy where someone at the entrance of the venue will use the app like the admin or this venue, and will register the people entering and people leaving the venue. And on the other side, the people that want to go inside the venue, let's say a swimming pool, they also use the app. When they log in, for example, or when they register, the app assigns them a QR code, for example, to make it easy. And when they get to the venue, the person at the entrance can scan the QR code. This is stored in the database, and then when they leave, they also scan the QR code and then store in the database, and then we know who is inside and who has come in and who has left at what time, etc., etc. So you get the idea, more or less, no? So we need an application that probably that needs to be efficient for all the sites. Okay, so people registering, people managing the venues, and people going to multiple venues. So we have to manage all this, because when you think web development, you always think that there are many people doing many things in your app. It's not like a desktop application when you know that this application, this program is just used by one. In the case of a web app, when it's out, it's out. So you don't know if thousands of people are going to use it, So you have to make sure that all the roles are correctly defined and who is using the app is doing correctly, and etc., etc. So any question before continuing? So it's clear, no?
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. So let's start. So what do you think is the next step or the first step for our application to be born?
Maybe to identify, to segment the audience into different roles, and understand that there's like an admin part, and then the other users who will be entering the venues.
Okay.
And then from there we can probably go into what they need and what they need to accomplish. And so if we break it down, we think about the admin. Maybe they'll need to keep track of who is in, and they may need to be able to set a maximum number of occupants in the venue.
I stop you.
And
because it's not interesting, you're correctly, but just hold it there. So you're saying we're starting with defining features. Who's doing what? Who are the players? What the application should do, or how it should behave according to different circumstances. That's your point. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. There's no good or
I don't know
bad.
if it's the right strategy.
Okay, that's your strategy. Anyone else has another strategy? So what would be the Josh?
You could try and see this a product like it already. So maybe do some research and see there's something like it, or you could go the other way and see this if it's something that people actually need. Because you don't want to build something and then realize that no one's going to actually use it.
Correct. In a professional world, before starting to work and hiring people, you should make sure that there's some client potential for it, and that nobody did already something very similar or the same. Let's assume that it's the case. So what would be? So now we have the ID, and we have some friends, and we have to start. Well, how do we start? That's probably the main thing about an application or project. How do you start? Which is the first thing you do? So Enrico said, okay, let's start about trying to define what the app does.
Okay. Yeah. So I usually start similar to what Enrico was saying in terms of the users and what they're going to be doing, but then I try to translate that into what does that mean in terms of the type of information that will need to exist, and then how that information will need to kind of be used. So basically starting to think in terms of what pieces of data and parts of data need to interact as I start to think of what's going to be this model for it.
Okay. Great.
To follow up what Thomas said, I think we need to first, just like you said, define the app. What does it do? And the second thing is the structure around it, and to have a clear vision. So we are trying to keep track of the people coming in and out. So we have a location, we have visitors, and we have interaction between those two. So we need to build a structure around it and define things. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm glad to hear that, because you're not corrupted developers. Because usually when you talk with developers, the first thing they tell you is we have to choose what framework we're going to use and what technology we're going to use. So this is the first thing a developer usually, the first trap they fell into. You don't care about the technology you're going to use, because you don't have any knowledge about what the app is going to do right now. You just have an ID. So first you have to define exactly what the app is going to do, and then you have some elements to choose what is the best technology to fit these needs. Okay. So in our case, because we all come from the Firestore world, etc., we're going to use that because it's free and it's cool. But this app doesn't need basically Firestore, because you don't need real time, microsecond real time. People don't enter and leave the facilities in less than a second. So I mean, if you have a latency of 1 minute, it doesn't matter. So starting to choose what kind of database you're going to use, what is the framework, what language, or should we do it on Amazon or in Google or in Azure? Who cares? So since you're not developers, you're not falling into the trap. So that's cool. So you don't have these, you're not corrupt at the beginning, so it's cool. So I have let's see what it is, where I have planned. I had that somewhere. Here it is. So I don't know if you already know Trello. Maybe some of you know it. Maybe all of you. Maybe all of you. Okay. So I usually use it. We could use anything you want, but basically the idea is to have a system that allows you to do cards, okay, and then be able to move them. Okay. So what we're gonna do in 10-15 minutes we have left. We're gonna do something that I took from design thinking methodology, which is a concept called, or a technique called, divergence and then convergence. Okay. I don't know if you or Thomas already know it. It's the basic, basically, of design thinking. And what it means is you don't limit yourself at the beginning. There's no wrong answer. Everything is valid. So you have to write everything, and then you have the collective element that came into play, what someone says make you think about something else, and then it's like a brainstorming with no limitation. So you just throw ideas, and I try to keep up and write them down. Okay, and then after that, we will try to discriminate what is realistic, what is not, what doesn't have nothing to do with the app, etc. And then we go classifying, and I will explain the process that you can follow to reach a work plan. Okay. So let's start. So now I'm going to shut up and listen to you. So Enrico, you had a lot of ideas.
Yeah, so maybe the people coming into the venue, they should be able to, how can they register, right? Then maybe can use their phone number, so log in via phone number, or maybe they book the venue beforehand, so they use a regular login, username and password, which would apply also for the admins or owners of the venue.
Second.
We're talking about logins.
I'm not able to edit. Okay. People can register. I want you to write
Username and password and text message.
Yeah, I did Lavish and move. I don't know why I cannot enter the card to make some content in it. That's weird. Okay. We're gonna do that this way. Register with.
Well, Patrick, try to edit the labels. Maybe it expands the editing menu. No, it doesn't.
No. Usually. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I'll fix it after. Okay, so people can register with phone number, email. What else?
Since we are keep tracking of the location or venue, so the most important thing we are tackling right now is the capacity, and we don't want to crowd the venue. It doesn't matter what venue it is. Our entire purpose is not to get the venue to be crowded, right?
Correct. Okay. More.
Check in and check out functionality.
Right.
Okay.
Notification when the occupancy get closer to, I'm assuming you are like waiting in line, you check in at the front desk and then you're told to come back. Maybe we need to let them know when they're getting to you, when it's almost your time to get in. So, notification when threshold is closed. QR generation code. You said we need to be able to generate QR codes. And scanning QR codes.
Yeah, QR scanning.
A history of all your check-ins.
Harris, it's your idea. You don't have any suggestions?
Well, I already went through this, so I don't know. It's kind of cheating, I guess. But I would also say having a way to share the person's QR code with the person, so you don't just hand it to them because COVID.
Sorry. Again.
Having a way to share the QR code, send it in an email, something that's more automated.
Okay.
For the QR code, right? Okay. That makes sense, yeah. So this has to be also mobile friendly.
Okay.
Maybe sharing the QR code with somebody if you have a party of two. Maybe you want to share it with the other people in the same party? Well, if you are the owner, you need a dashboard to maybe monitor, your occupancy throughout different days. And
It's okay. That's okay. Dashboard to monitor the new statistics.
yeah.
Also, maybe a way to, let's say, depending on what your shop is, you can use the app to maybe promote your products.
Promote.
So maybe sorry.
Promote your product. Promote your product.
Promote your products. Yeah. So maybe offer discounts, so you can actually then use it to generate more revenue for your business.
You American guys. I know you're from London.
I'm London.
Yeah, London. Sorry.
Well, if you want to talk about that, then we can make the app free and just use ads to raise some money at the beginning and just embed some ads in it.
More.
Did we say set the occupant limit, like the cap for people, and maybe managing more venues if somebody has multiple locations? Truly relevant for the database.
Okay.
Yeah, and an individual user needs to be able to view multiple locations. So they might be using this app for many different places. So on the user side, they also need multiple venue views.
Just going back to the register, you can make it so that you can register using Gmail or Facebook, just to make it a lot easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
How about a map that shows establishments that use this app to check you in?
I think also like a transactional email feature, like being able to confirm that somebody, when they register, they get back something in email to let them know, or if we need to notify them. So some way that we can do emails.
Okay, so how about a way for the users to register online without having to go to the venue? So they like put their email, passwords, and whatnot, and then a QR code gets generated and sent to them.
Maybe also a way to see, so from the user's perspective, seeing availability of slots when things are open. So almost like a calendar view or something like that.
This is a good one. And related to that, can we also add something like estimated waiting time? If the owner of the venue sets like an estimated average time that a person is going to be in the place, then we can estimate how long it's going to be the wait.
I don't know if we kind of already touched on this, but if you could possibly check how busy places are before you go there.
Mm-hmm.
I have another idea, which is like a bit advanced, but since we're brainstorming, I think it's fine. So, what if you go to a place and then there has been a confirmed COVID case? So you wanna let the people know who have been there around this time that the infected person went there. You wanna let them know that like they might have come in contact with a guy.
So it's a push notification system. time to expand that. But it could be also transactional, like Thomas was saying. It could be an email if we want it to be more formal, right? Yeah, that ties into
email feedback on action taken. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I think for that feature, you could send it out in both ways. You could have the push notification and on the email about the COVID tracking.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually saw an app on. Sorry.
Communication channel.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say I saw an app that was being used in Japan, which was one where people did check how busy places were before they went, like restaurants, places like that. And what they did was the restaurants or the people who were on the app, who were also using it in their business, they would have like a green light system, like green, amber, red, and green indicated that it wasn't that busy at the moment, and red was like it was super busy, of course, and amber was like getting there. Yeah.
Well, Michael, that's a great idea, and kind of related to that. And Patrick, it goes kind of against what you said earlier, that maybe we don't need live updates, real time updates. But if we could see like how many people are in the venue and for how long they have been there. So like that there have been maybe 20 people and 20% of them has been there for an hour. It gives you like a sense of how fast it can get empty.
Show average staying time. Can you say? No.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a list of all the occupants and how long ago they checked in.
What do you mean list of the occupants? You mean number of people?
Yeah, number of people. Yeah.
Okay. Carpes, you're very quiet.
How about setting up a limit for the venue?
So sorry, Sam.
I was thinking about how about setting up a limit. For example, if you have 20 people are waiting, we want to set a limit for the people who are inside, saying, hey, you cannot be there more than like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
So a time limit not based on the occupancies, but in time.
Yes, but at the same time, keeping an account how many people are waiting outside. If you have no one is waiting outside, you don't want to limit the people inside to be like 15 minutes. They can stay longer. But if you have so many people waiting for you for the venue, we want to set the limit for it.
Setting a time limit according to the queue. Is that what you said?
Yes.
You said?
Yeah.
Okay. Carpe, sorry, you were true too.
Oh, sorry.
Michael?
No, I was just going to say, just to follow up on that, if people, I think we already mentioned about booking in time slots, if maybe they got reminders, say for instance, if you booked a 2-hour session somewhere, or a dinner somewhere, and then you get a reminder that you only have half an hour left or something like that. Yeah, when the time is nearly up, I meant, yeah. Cool.
Okay. Now you're dry.
And then we put in the setting page or the preference page, which is the profile page for each one of them. And the payment system, if this is like a B2B.
Okay, so since we're storing personal data, we should also keep in mind the privacy rules and laws. I don't know if this like applies to the technical stuff, but yeah. Oh, maybe a tutorial section, because like for the users to understand and get a better grasp of how it works.
Okay, cool.
You know what would be really cool if this went viral and we had so many people that you could tell if somebody who's going to the same venue with you is within a certain distance from you, and then we suggest like car sharing or like carpooling so that you can save on emission and stuff.
Yeah, I know where you're going. You're thinking about Tinder.
That's just like you don't have to put it down, Patrick.
Okay. Something like that.
Yeah. It will never make it into the app. I know.
Okay. So in this process, there's no end. So we can find as many IDs as we want, and one ID leads to another. So there's no end. So we're going to stop there. The next step usually is to do the following. Now that we have the list, the hard part is to create families or groups. Okay, so with all these IDs, we have think about it's not really what you have to do, but to make it easier, think about the different sections of your application or big group of features that goes together. For example, I just give you an example. The settings, the preferences, and all stuff related to communication. Maybe this could go in the same place. Okay. How you want the app, for example, a theme. If you want the app to be, pink, red, blank, white, black, whatever, or if you want your communication to be pushed to you to your mobile phone or through an SMS, or where you specify your name and your direction and your address, etc. All these kind of stuff, they're usually inside the preferences or settings of the app. So we have a lot of cards that specify one feature, small feature, and we have to put them inside a big block. So different families. So that's what we have to do. We have to create these categories or these group of features, and then we have to assign to all these groups all the features. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to define. Well, that's the difficult way. Now we have to limit the categories because we cannot have as many categories as cards. That doesn't make any sense. So this is the hard stuff.
I think the authentication is one category and the profile is the other one.
Sorry, so profile is a category.
And the authentication part.
Okay. I would say authentication is not a category. Security will be. Authentication is just a part of the security group because in security you have maybe your database security, your communication security, the authentication, the profiling. You have many things.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Is user management, or it's kind of like all this stuff around getting signed up and then keeping track of who's being used, like the people.
Okay, so
I don't know how
it's
to
not
articulate that.
profile.
I was thinking profile is tied to what you were saying about the preferences. So it's kind of like me, what I wanted, want my app to do.
Okay.
What I'm thinking more is that the app is going to have a lot of users and managing all the things that the users do. So how they get onboarded, how they get checked in, checked out, all that stuff. It's always tied to like a user. So managing those flows around a user.
Okay, understand. We have to.
That might be too big.
We have two ways to go with this. We can go with what you say, and then realize at some point that we're missing stuff, or I can give you some clues now to avoid losing time. So my opinion is first we should have a part where we define the venues, because the centerpiece of this application is not the user, it's the venue. If you go with the users, then you're going to get lost, because there's nothing relating the user between themselves except the venue. So
yeah, that makes sense.
My perception will be you define a venue, and then you have a lot of things to define: the capacity, the location, maybe the time when it's open and when it's closed, stuff like that. Okay. And also something that nobody mentioned: who is in charge of this venue? Because when you register in the app, you can have two roles. You can be a user of the venue, or you can be the guy at the entrance that check the people. So you have somewhere you have to specify that your role for this venue is user, or let's say receptionist.
Okay. Yep.
So
that makes sense.
And you cannot put that in the user profile, or in your your user specificity or specification, that, as you were mentioning, Thomas. Because you cannot leave that to a user, because if it was like that, everyone would be an administrator and get in. So let's say venue configuration. And that's why there's no user configuration, because you just register and
you're tied to a venue by your registrar.
Let's say that you register and you give all the details you want: profile, photo, blah blah blah, normal stuff, and that's it. And
you only do it once.
And as a user, you can create a venue. Okay, you can say, well, wait a minute. I'm the receptionist of this gymnasium. So I create the gymnasium. I inform all the data, and obviously I specify that I am in charge of this. And maybe this person, are allowed to act as a receptionist also. And this is all defined inside the venue. Okay, because for this venue you have these people in charge of doing these things, and all the rest they're just clients. So you don't have to specify anything if you're not in charge of anything. So that's why you don't have a user category screen to define any role there. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
So do you think that with this tree list we can put all these cards?
Let's put the ones we can see what's
we
left.
Have to finish the list.
Yeah. Oh, we have to finish the list. What are the categories?
I think we missed at least one. Which is the most important.
This is the check-in and check-out type of.
Check-in, check-out. It's not. Let's say a group. It's just one feature. Maybe you could put it in security, maybe in profile, maybe in another one. Depends.
What about the user one, or is it under profile?
The what? The what?
The one that defines like the user.
I think that was profile. That's
Yeah.
what I
Okay,
understood
okay.
from what Patrick was
Got it.
saying. Yeah. So all the user stuff would be in profile.
But we agree that in profile, it's like any other app. You can specify your name, your address, your age, your sex, your photo. You can log in with social media, as we said, and link your account to Instagram if you want. Blah blah blah. There's nothing else. It's just data about you.
Database.
That's not a group of feature.
Okay, yeah.
Communication can be a group. All the notifications, email, we get put together into one group. Push notifications.
I think this would be in profile, no? When you choose if you want to receive the notification through an email or through SMS or both or push or whatever.
Okay.
Well, basically, what you're missing is the actual screen of the app. I mean, you and your user, you want to see the venues, you want to be able to check in. To check in a venue, not to register. To show you your QR. So it's the main screen of the app. So we've done all the thing around, but we have forgotten the stuff in the middle. So we have main view, which is usually the first one. Not in let's say in terms of times you use each of these group. Probably the main view is the first one. Is the one you use the most. No, first you don't go to your profile every day. You go to your main screen and you say, okay, usually I go to this restaurant, and so I can maybe check the affluency if there's a lot of people waiting, or if there's no one there and I can go, etc. So you have this menu, and this is probably the most difficult part to assign card to, because most of the thing could go there. So you have to be careful about what you put there. So I'm gonna delete this one. Okay. So given the time it is, what I'm proposing you is I'm going to share this Trello board with you, and altogether you move the card. Well, I mean altogether, each one in his house, obviously. And obviously you're not going to agree on everything, so you're going to fight. Some people want to move cars to one column, and some other want to move to the other column. So you can chat about it in Slack. You can do it like you wish, or you just put it again and again and again and again because you're stubborn. You can don't give a shit and don't do it. But the process is learning by doing. So you start moving cars, think about it, and if you see that someone has moved your car to another place, maybe reach to him and say, what do you think it's better there and there, and share opinions and experience. And I think it's a good thing because many of you have said that you were interested in making a career in development. Is that right? Okay, so 99.9% of the time you're going to have to work with other people. You're not going to work alone. You have to learn to work in group. So that's a big part of the job. So I mean, two people in the garage building a multi-billion company just happened once. Not many times. Usually you're in a consulting business or you're in a big company, and you have to collaborate with other people, and many times people don't have the same opinion. It will be very boring if we all had the same opinion. So that's the story. Maybe without any risk, you have now to do something and collaborate with each other and try to find the best definition of what we have here. Select the cards and put them in the different lists, and I will follow on Slack, obviously. If in very few days you have finished, because it's not that long, then we go to the next step would be to make the priority. No, second step will be to get rid of duplicity. There's a lot of duplicity there. But now is not the time to get rid of them. First, assign cards to categories, and then when this is done, when everybody is happy, or there's, let's say, a consensus about what should be the screen, then we discuss again what will be kept and what will be abandoned, and then we will go to priority, because probably in all your IDs, which are all great IDs, probably there are things that are critical and things that are more secondary, which is phase 2, phase 3, or phase whatever I would never do it, which is usually phase 2.
That's what I was going to say. Phase 2. That's what phase 2 means.
Yeah. I mean, when you start working in development, there's only money for phase 1. There's never money for phase 2. Okay. Are you okay with that? With the plan?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Sure.
This was great.
Cool.
Thank you very much for putting this together.
Thank you to all for participating.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay. Have a nice evening. See you on Slack. Talk to you on Slack.
Guys.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, bye.